You know that I wanna be good for you. You know that I wanna be good for you.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Always Watching. Today we are talking about The Idol Episode 2. As you can see, I still have not recorded a video because I'm still not so sure about this show. There are some interesting aspects individually, but the way that the plot is escalating and the way that things are being pieced together, it just doesn't feel very natural. It just feels so very forced. And I think my main issue is, who is the main character? Is it Jocelyn or is it Tedros? Or Tedros? The man possibly from Hawaii. I do think that the first half of the episode was really strong, and then it totally fell apart. Right? I did like that they were focusing on Jocelyn, and I do find her to be a compelling character. However, the minute she pairs up with Tedros, it all goes downhill. And I understand that they want to bring something new, like focusing on a pop star's sort of rise and fall or just fall. Like, we've seen it all before. But I feel like less would have been more with this show. And I really hope that Tedros doesn't become a main character, because next episode, their worlds collide. And it seems like Jocelyn and Tedros will be on screen together. So I guess this is when we're going to find out what this show is, like where this is all going. And the issue with Tedros is I guess this is some type of cult. I don't know if I buy him as a cult leader. Like, how is it that he's able to lure so many talented people around him? And why are they all supporting him? Like, he has people around him that are actually better than Jocelyn. One in particular. So, I don't, that was what piqued my interest this episode. When I found out that he's able to kind of recruit these very talented people and get them super devoted to him. I think there's an interesting idea there. But again, what that has to do with Jocelyn, I'm not really sure. And I think Tedros is the type of character that I would buy Jocelyn going for if she was at rock bottom. Like, she still has some hope. Her team hasn't given up on her yet. So again, the idea behind Tedros is interesting, but the way he was introduced to us, I mean, he's just a sketchy nobody from nowhere that apparently owes a lot of people a lot of money. And I understand that Jocelyn is depressed, but being depressed doesn't mean you're a dummy. I just don't, like, the more she kind of is convinced by Tedros, the less kind of sympathetic I become towards her. It's just like, it's hard to ignore. And we find out this episode that her manager has been paying her mortgage. So for people that are overly concerned about her well-being, I don't really understand how they allowed this man to move in. Like, nobody's noticing anything besides this assistant. So again, the way things are escalating, it just doesn't seem very natural, especially with so much on the line. And again, each character, Jocelyn, I find compelling. The idea behind Tedros is compelling. I even think Jocelyn's team is super compelling. There's a lot of interesting characters there. But as soon as they all come together, they just become so much less interesting. Tedros and his cult, I'm not sure where this is going, and I'm not sure they can wrap it up in 6 episodes. So the episode starts and she's previewing this remix of her song to her team, and they are rightfully horrified. And I think if a song like this came out today, it would probably be a hit, if we're being honest. Like, I don't know, it was just, her team was like, no. And this episode, we do find out where their anxiety is coming from. So it seems that when Jocelyn's mother died, they gave her the option of postponing the tour. She convinced them that she could perform, and unfortunately she was unable to and had a breakdown. And so they lost a lot of money, and so they're not really in the mood for creating art. All right, they're in the money-making mood. This is about survival. And Jocelyn is not doing as well as you would think, right? It seems like she's also in desperate need of this money, right? This is kind of a sink or swim moment for all of them. Like, they can't really afford to be experimenting. because they got no money to experiment with. It seems like they've kind of put all their money into making this happen, hoping that this tour and this album will kind of, everything will kind of work itself out. And, after she previews the song, she's a bit depressed, and rightfully so. And this whole thing with Tedros, like the way they're kind of forcing them to be together doesn't make sense, right? So she calls him, she texts him, and I'm not sure why she's so enamored by him, considering that in the last episode, they kind of hinted to us that she was very promiscuous. So the idea that she would kind of fall this hard for him, I wasn't really buying it. And a lot of the things he was doing to kind of get her hooked was like something you would do in high school. Like, oh, I'm busy, but I'll see you in a few days. Like, I would expect Jocelyn to kind of see through that. Like, it was just very clear that he was trying not to be desperate. And again, I would expect the desperation from his side, not her side. So it just felt like I was watching two adult high schoolers. And Tedros is the type of person you're attracted to when you're at rock bottom, which I guess she is. And so she's kind of desperate for some validation. She's under a lot of pressure, and she needs to convince her team that she's doing well and that she's able to handle a tour. And by the end of this episode, she was not able to convince them of that. And it seems she's getting tired of even pretending to do so at all. The first half of this episode was actually really brilliant. This music video and the pressure that she was under. And so much, we see music videos, we see movies, but we don't actually understand how much work it takes to make this happen, right? They're nowhere near as glamorous as they appear. And so she just wants to do the best that she can. She doesn't really believe in this song, so it's making it even harder for her to really care. But she's doing her best, and it's kind of take after take after take, and this is exhausting. Watching the dancers get tired, watching her get frustrated. Also, I like the pressure in the background, like this idea that, these stars have all this power. It's not necessarily true, right? Like, there's a director. The director got frustrated, right? The team is getting frustrated. Time is money. So the longer they take and the more takes, it starts to put pressure on everyone because this is a payday. And so there's a lot of moving parts. And what I liked about the scene is that you realize the artist is just one of many parts, right? It's like they need her to do their job so they can do theirs. And so as she keeps asking for take after take, you start to get frustrated and you become almost as tired as she does, right? It just becomes like exhausting. And we do get a glimpse into her team. Like, they're trying their best to keep her on her toes. And I do actually think they have her best interest at heart, but they're also losing sympathy for her, right? Like, they can't really afford for her to keep messing up. And so they're trying to give her a pep talk. They're trying to keep her spirits up, but they can kind of see that things are spiraling out of control. We find out that she spent 3 hours in makeup to cover these bruises on her inner thigh. And so when she finally does get a take right, it's wasted because it's out of focus. And I could feel her heartbreak, and I think Lily Rose Depp did a very good job of kind of just showing us that exhaustion, and it was very believable. She's in this very, sexy outfit. It's fantastic. You're expecting, and again, it's so far from glamorous, right? Her feet are bleeding. These dancers are tired. Like, this is work. Like, this is exhausting, right? Her team doesn't know what to do. They're thinking like, how can we replace her just in case this doesn't work out? And again, time is money, right? And although Jocelyn was unable to finish the shoot, you best believe they found somebody that could. And that says a lot about the industry, right? It's like, you are replaceable. You are replaceable even at your own music video. And so Jocelyn leaves and she's totally defeated. And you can kind of feel her defeat. and her heartbreak. Like her team, their hope has faded. You know, her manager is tired, and you just have a lot going on, and everyone is trying to look out for themselves. And I'm not sure how you feel about this reporter storyline. Like, I think it's a bit forced. I don't know why we need it. This reporter just comes off as a fake feminist to me. I don't know what her purpose is. I'm not sure I care. You know, on one hand, she pretends to get close to her. On the other hand, it's hard to tell. You know, like when she saw the cuts on Jocelyn's thigh, I couldn't tell if she thought like, yes, I got a scoop, or like, oh my God, this is horrible. Right? So what angle she's going to take, we don't know. Whether or not we care, whether or not she works for Tedros, I'm just not sure why she's there. Because she's not really doing anything. You know, the one conversation she has with a member of Jocelyn's team, you know, again, her team are looking out for her, but they're also kind of looking for purpose themselves. So they're hoping if she can become successful, they can kind of find their groove again. So everyone's just paralyzed, waiting to see what will happen. And so I thought one of the best scenes is when her manager sits her down and tells her, like, I'm not sure I can keep paying your mortgage. You know, like, I support you, but this is getting out of hand. You know, you gotta be real with yourself. And I actually do like her manager. I think he's doing a very good job in his part. And, you know, he discovered her when she was very young, and it seems like they've had a good ride, but he basically said, listen, if you can't do this, we'll find somebody else who can. Right? And it's looking that way. And I thought this part of the episode was so well done. You know, you felt her exhaustion, and then everything for me fell apart when Tedros came over. This last sort of 15-20 minutes was a disaster. This tanked the episode. You know, Tedros, he comes with an entourage. I was just confused. It seems like they're all scammers. Like, what they do exactly, it's not clear yet, but it looks very shady. And just from the jump, I just didn't understand what was going on. So it seems like Tedros, a lot of the people that he surrounds himself with are very talented artists. But it was very hard for me to take this seriously because they were running around naked. Like, explain to me why that girl, like, came into Jocelyn's house, saw a pool, and stripped naked. It's as if the showrunner said, it's been a while since we've seen a naked body. And so this person is running around butt naked, playing the piano like Beethoven. Apparently she can sing, and I just could not take her seriously. I just didn't understand the decisions that were made. And there's a lot of scenes in this that are quite graphic, and I'm not sure they're needed. Like, I get it. You want to stress that, you know, she's depressed and things like this. That's fine. They want to stress that Tedros has some hold over this woman. That's fine. But why did they gotta strip naked? She was sitting butt naked at that piano. Like, I was like, are you... Huh? This episode totally detonated at the end. You know, The Weeknd, the lines coming out of his mouth. I hope he has better game than this, because some of the things, it just sounded like a Wattpad virgin fan fiction. I don't know what. It just sounded like something you would say when you've never been with someone before. Like, it was just giving... It was so corny. I'm like, sir, what is coming out of your mouth? And then it just turns into this SNL skit with this girl in the closet. And I don't know why she was running around naked and then all of a sudden decided to wear an evening gown. Like, what the creative strategy there was. Like, I was just like, why is she wearing that dress? It was very unflattering. There's a moment where I could tell that Tedros saw her, but he didn't do anything. And so we were just kind of creeped out. And the way the episode ends with that song, I mean, basically I get it, like, the idea was good. They were trying to convince her that, you know, they are a family. The song sounded like bait. Shout out to her assistant. You know what, that part, okay, her assistant is really funny to me because she's also becoming less sympathetic. It's like, okay, you know that this is weird. And so how are you going to play detective while you're getting your back blown out? Like, I was like, sis, you need to pick a side. And so she's sitting there watching them sing, and she knows they're being scammed, but she's just useless. That song at the end, I don't know. I just, you know, the young lady singing it, again, she was a very good singer. But watching someone run around butt naked for that long, I couldn't take them seriously. And so it was just really distracting. The chorus went on for too long. Again, there's a difference between being depressed and dumb. And I don't think anyone can be this dumb. And so I guess they're forcing it in the next episode, right? This is when worlds collide. But my God, that had to be the worst. Like, the way that episode just turned for the worst, I just didn't understand. And the thing about the show is, at best, it's just cringy and kind of boring. But yeah, you know, I actually couldn't believe my eyes. Like, I was laughing at some of the things coming out of the Weeknd's mouth, or Tedros' mouth. Tedros. You guys let me know what you think, and until next time.